Good evening and welcome to the work session business meeting of January 5th, 2023. Please stand and join Mr. Evans' first grade class leading us in the pledge.
Mr. Evans' first grade class.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Evans' class. That was clear and well done. So I'd like to open it up for public comments on any of the agenda items. Okay, I don't see any public comments, so we're going to move to the consent agenda.
Resolve the recommendation of superintendent of school to approve consent agenda items number 2 through 6.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mrs. Bellino, are you going to give us a rundown?
Yes, the items on the consent agenda tonight are approval of the meeting minutes from December, approval of CSE, CPSE placements, an updated 22-23 substitute listing, unpaid time for staff members' approval, and additional work hours for other staff members' approval. That's it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. We are going to move into reports, and I'm sorry I didn't ask you before, someone, but do you have a student report?
Just a couple things related to the student government. We're working on a winter ball for the high school, and that will take place on March 10th, I believe. We're looking for any support, like from the community, if possible. You know, you can contact people at the high school if you have any resources that you'd like to lend us. But we're really excited about that. It'll take place here in the cafeteria and the main hallway. The senior class that I'm a part of, we are working, kind of getting back in the swing of things with planning our prom. So working on DJ, stuff like that. So minor things, but fun things coming up.
I will say you guys did an amazing, not just seniors, but all the high school students in terms of your Christmas drives for
Thank you.
all different kinds of pajamas and whatever. I think that was, really a credit, I'm losing my words, to all of the students in the high school and their advisors, their teacher and their advisors, that they're always thinking about others.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of honor societies that do a really great job of kind of letting themselves to the community. I know, like in November, for example, we had our pantry drive and we donated over to the church in Mohegan Lake. We have the pajama drive and we have book drives with the National English Honor Society. So I feel like every honor society that we have here at the high school is really doing their part in giving back to the community and getting students involved in the spirit of giving back just to the people that kind of brought them up.
When I brought toys in, I thought, there were a lot of really nice toys. Ooh, this is like shopping at Toys R Us. But I think it's really good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Left.
Good evening, everyone. So I feel like we were just at this table not too many days ago, so my report is actually very brief. Our budget process continues. We've completed our meetings with each of the departments and buildings. And obviously this evening we'll go over our instructional program. So this is a change from the past where each building used to present separately. Now Ms. Levine will be presenting and our building administrators are here to support her if needed or help answer questions. But we've combined what was 3 separate presentations into the past to one overall instructional budget, which I think will be very helpful. Some may have taken notice of an update that was sent out to the community regarding the water at the elementary school. So this is an issue that goes back to December of 2020, I believe, when it was first tested, or actually October, when the testing first began, and this was a new mandate by the state. So while the water has remained safe for all uses at the elementary school, it was above a threshold that required us to put some mitigation measures into place. we're already using bottled water and have continued to use bottled and filtered water only at the elementary school since that time, even though the water is still safe to drink. But now that new system has been installed, is operational, and could probably rival Poland Spring for the cleanliness of our water with zero measurable contaminants in it. So just a huge kudos to Dave Spittle and his crew, Carrie is our master plumber that supports the district, for getting that system up and running. And it's truly a first of its kind, at least in our region. And I know there's many others that are behind us, but we're certainly the first school district with a system of that size operational and in place. So again, congratulations and thank you to all those who are involved. Our middle school continues its IB program. We had the last piece of paperwork we needed to submit our application for candidacy. We have our launch workshop scheduled for March, and we're looking to fill our coordinator positions. Congratulations to the middle school band and chorus concerts, which took place just prior to the break. Our boys basketball team had an exciting opportunity to play at the Barclays Center. So they unfortunately lost, but I know it was a competitive, close game, and that was quite the experience for them to play on a professional basketball hoop. Word has it that the NBA three-point line was what sunk us. So they're used to shooting in three-pointers from a lot closer than NBA three-point level. Just some upcoming events. Our girls basketball team has the opportunity to play at Iona College on Saturday. Our elementary school sing-along, which we scheduled for tomorrow at 2:15. Our high school chorus and band concerts are scheduled for Wednesday the 11th and Wednesday the 18th. Our high school principal, Mr. Mello, is holding listening hour before next board meeting on January 19th at 6 p.m. And our Science National Honor Society induction is scheduled for Tuesday the 31st. Some quick contract updates. So we're making great progress with the CSEA negotiations. Their contract is up at the end of this year. And we had a successful mediation session this week with the PVFT, and then the next one scheduled for January 24th. And then, so that's it. So I'm going to go into the exciting stuff. So up on the screen right now is our draft calendar for the 23-24 school year. So as always, the calendar is closely based on what the BOCES calendar is. So the board members will have the adopted BOCES calendar below this one. So this is the proposed calendar. This was what we came about after sharing it with both the PVFT and the CSEA union. Really the deciding factor was whether to start before or after Labor Day. It's a late end to the school year. The school year ends on Wednesday, June 26th. So ultimately, the preference of all was to begin before Labor Day. So we scroll up. So by having the 2 conference days before Labor Day, Friday is no students, no conference day, so it has a nice 4-day weekend for Labor Day. And then students begin on the 5th, is the first day for students, Tuesday the 5th. So in the years past, we've had 1 or 2 days with students and then the long Labor Day break. This year will be superintendent's conference days, and then students will begin with a 4-day week beginning on the 5th. The nice part about starting in August with our conference days is it provides the opportunity for a couple additional vacation days mixed into the calendar. So you'll notice atypical from our traditional calendar is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Schools will be closed, as well as a much longer than usual Memorial Day break. So the Friday before and the Tuesday after, scheduled for Memorial Day. Another unusual piece is Easter falls really early this year. So Easter Sunday is actually the 31st of March. So the calendar has Good Friday, the 29th off, and then the week following Easter. So that's a little unusual. Typically we have the week before Easter off. This calendar reflects the week after Easter as well as Good Friday before. And anything else? Oh. So the give back days, as one may suspect, the first 2 give back days, if necessary for exceeding our snow days, would be first Tuesday the 28th and then Friday the 24th. So you have 2 days before we dip into the spring break, which is a nice little cushion. And then the same holds true if no snow days were used. The 29th and 30th of May would become vacation days. And if only 1 snow day is used, the 29th of May would become a vacation day. So the give back days would be added onto an already extended Memorial Day break, which could be up to 5 days. Sorry, Simone, you won't be here. I saw that smile. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Yeah, I just have one question. So what is the first day of school for next year exactly? Just
It
to
would
clarify.
be the 5th, September 5th.
Okay. And then what happens on the 1st?
The 1st is just a no vacation day.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
So it would be a 4-day weekend for everyone. No students, no teachers. Just the district would be all open, but no school.
Other than the concern of an extended vacation around Memorial Day, right before what would be, kind of final season, that would be my only concern. Likely we'll use some snow days, so I don't, but if we don't end up using snow days, that becomes a concern for, it's a good opportunity to catch up for students with that time off. We know what students will do more likely than not would be not to catch up. So that would be my only concern, but other than that, it looks like a nice match with both seasons. I have no real problem with it.
And I just have one more question. Sorry. About, I don't know if this is a you question or a Mr. Mello question, and if there's any insight towards it yet.
We'll make Mello come up to the mic if it's for him.
It's about midterms for the high school. This year, we don't really have a midterm schedule like we have in the past. So do you have any clue if we have like a midterm schedule where people come in sometimes and not other times, or if we're doing similar to this year where you come in for the whole day?
I really appreciate you put me on the spot on that one. So we do have a midterm schedule this year. It's just not, if you go back years ago, we used to have a week that matched up with Regents exams for any of the students that needed to take Regents exams in January. And we were able to use that time. Again, this is before New York State kind of changed some of the things that they do, how they measure minutes for students and hours for students. So we kind of lose that time to be able to just have students come in for midterms. It doesn't match up with what New York State wants to do now. So we had to come up with a new kind of schedule this year that we're piloting, which is basically using the blocks to use the assessments for midterms. So it's a different schedule than we've done before with midterms. We'll try it out this year. We'll see how it goes. Your feedback will be greatly appreciated. But we can't go back to those days like we did years ago where students only came in for midterms if they had a midterm.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Sam.
The concert at the high school, the chorus and the band, what time do they start? I looked
It's
on the
not on the
calendar, it doesn't
calendar.
give a time.
Usually
7.
usually?
Dr. Massera here?
I was
Well,
looking
which,
to see
7
if-
o'clock?
I
For
see a
both?
7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Oh, he is here. There he is.
Thank you. 7, thank you. If I can enter that in.
Okay. So then we're going to move into our presentation, our budget 2023-24 budget presentation, curriculum and instruction.
Okay, good.
Good evening, everyone.
I thought you were going to do it backwards. I was going to be impressed.
I can if you like. I just want to start off by saying it's a delight to be here this evening, and it's especially important for me to recognize how none of this work is done in isolation. I am up here speaking primarily, but this is the work of the partnership of my colleagues here in the room today, our administrators, of course, but also I want to name our teachers who are here with us tonight as well. I want to recognize all the hard work they do, that they make the great work we can talk about tonight possible. So thank you to all of you. And some of the things I'll touch on today, I'm really glad to note that some of the teachers who've helped me work on them are actually present tonight, so that's lovely. So I'm going to go forward to starting with the place I like to start all the time, which is reminding all of us of our mission, our vision, and our goals. Our mission, we're all very familiar with, but our goals for this year, just to remind everyone, are about aspire and empowering, helping people to lead, encouraging risk-taking and innovation, meeting higher expectations of academic excellence, and improving our communication. These are what the thread that you will see pulled through our presentation this evening as we touch upon different aspects of curriculum and instruction, K-12. And of course, the child first and foremost. Everything we do has this as the lens we look through. So if it's not best for the child, if it's not putting the child first and foremost and building a foundation for their future, it is not essential to us. It is not a priority for us. So this is the lens through which all curriculum and instruction decisions are always made. And when I meet with teachers, when I meet with teams, when I lead professional learning and faculty, I do this with them as well. I bring these slides in to remind everyone about what we're here to do and what we're here to talk about. And it's always the child and what's best for the child and for Putnam Valley. This is an essential slide as well because these are the attributes we are embodying as a district. It is part of the IB learner profile. These attributes are what we want for all of our students. This is who our Putnam Valley students are as learners and who we aspire to be and to develop in our schools. Tonight, we will go through our numbers first, enrollment, teacher staffing numbers. Then we will talk about the enhancement and district initiatives we have put in place. We'll talk about some of the professional learning that goes into place in order to make these things successful. And then we will talk about the equipment and supplies that help innovation happen. So by the numbers. So looking at the trends over time, you'll notice that while we have seen a decrease over time in overall enrollment, our class sizes have remained steady, and we have maintained our student enrollment in each grade level, maybe an off by a student or two here and there. Obviously, we have the anomaly that is currently in grade 4. And that is the smallest cohort, but you'll even notice there that we have not lost or gained many students in those cohorts or in any of the cohorts. So it's been pretty steady. Dr. Left, was there anything else you wanted to say about this?
No, I just think that there's not a lot of attrition for each grade level as they move through, which I think is a good sign. We know we've seen a significant overall increase in students enrolling in the district from other districts since really COVID began. So those students are certainly interspersed in here as well.
This includes our projections overall for our faculty and staff that we have in our district. And you'll notice, again, a lot of consistency in the numbers. And when we have changes, it's really to meet student needs and priorities. Whether it's an increase in an E&L population or an increase in special education services, we're always trying to make sure we are being fiscally responsible while making sure we provide the best possible program for our students. So in our elementary school, we are looking at currently budgeting for an E&L teacher potentially and a library clerk. These positions may be split, but there's nothing final yet. We're watching our enrollment, and as Dr. Left just mentioned, we do see rises in enrollment, particularly in the E&L respect. So we do not have a definite plan to do this, but we are budgeting for it just in case because the likelihood of that population rising is fairly reliable. So we want to make sure that we are keeping that in mind and factoring that into our budget as we're planning for the future.
So an interesting part of this slide is we, for years, have been talking about a decrease in enrollment across the district. But when you look at this trend right here at the elementary school, you'll actually notice that we've seen an increase in students over the past 4 years. So I think many of those students who moved into the district moved into elementary school grade levels. But going from 519 to 567 is a pretty significant increase in a building that has historically had declining enrollment for probably the last 10 years.
Quick question, library clerk, is that that's a clerk position, not a true librarian, correct?
Correct.
Is there difficulty in finding a librarian?
It is a shortage area regionally, nationally actually, but it is a shortage area. Fortunately, there have been initiatives by local partners like BOCES to partner with local colleges that do offer library programs. The challenge is these programs require a second master's of teachers. So if you have a general education teacher who needs to have a teaching degree, to then take on the library masters in addition, it can be a challenge financially, time-wise, and then the teacher has to consider their options if they're tenured in a general education capacity, now taking on a new role. So it has been hard regionally for us to not only develop people as librarians, but also to hire and find librarians for our district.
There was a time that librarian was a full-time librarian at the elementary.
It is not
while I
current.
was employed here.
It is not
God, I'd
currently
hate to see
required
that
by the state,
reduced
but-
to a clerk,
yes.
really.
There's nobody there now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So it doesn't preclude us from exploring to fill it with a librarian position down the road. I think we're on year 3 of looking for a middle school librarian. So that's how difficult it is to fill the position. And the elementary school library currently has nobody. So classroom teachers bring their students in to circulate books, but then it's when the books are returned, right, we actually have some of our building administrators, amongst others, that are restocking books in the library, right, just to maintain this space. So we really are in need of some sort of supervision in this space,
No,
someone to
I
lend a
agree.
hand to
And
teachers.
I understand the clerk being
Right.
there. I'm just saying that my own personal preference would be a full-time librarian.
Maybe we
That
can
is
get
so
lucky and have a
important.
clerk we can develop into a librarian. They can continue their education while working there.
Is there anybody on staff that perhaps might want to get that secondary degree? That would be just outstanding for one of our teaching instructors to do.
Anybody want to raise your hand?
Have a Master's of Library Science, because
I saw Mary Fran's smile, but nobody else raised their hand.
I know how great having a librarian in the building is. I mean,
So
here at the
important.
high school, it's phenomenal. So I would love to see that for each building, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And these are our class size projections at this time, and you'll notice we currently have a third grade, 6 sections in the third grade, and we are looking at increasing the sections in 4th grade to 6, so that we can maintain that consistency and those class sizes for those students, which will be beneficial for them in the long run. Currently, our projected enrollment for kindergarten is 100, but our trends show that that could change. And it is highly likely, given the current climate and society and how people recognize what a wonderful school Putnam Valley Elementary School is, to have people move in to be part of our kindergarten course.
But the class size in grade 4 would be not 25.
Yes, you're
Right.
correct. That was, we changed this and we
That was
should
if there were
recalculate.
5 sections.
Yes, that was when they were
All right.
5.
Okay.
Yes, we did
All right.
change that recently.
Okay.
This is our middle school projection at this time. We are anticipating filling a school librarian there. We do have a faculty member that is working toward a degree and doing very well in that capacity, so we're very excited about that. And with the middle years program, that will be really essential, so we really want to make sure that in this capacity we do have a librarian in the faculty for the work that needs to be done there.
Jackie, you want to go back and just
Sure.
hit refresh it?
You had to make it challenging.
There you go.
There you go.
Those are the new numbers.
Okay.
So the shift here was the current 4th grade class was only 4 sections. So one of the additional teachers we brought on with grant funds last year will take on the 5th section, and then the other one will carry that 6th section. So those 2 extra teachers are really only 1 extra teacher next year, because it's the small class moved on to the middle school.
One of those instructors was funded with the stimulus money, is that correct?
2 of them were originally, but now because we lost that small grade with only 4 sections, we're going to have to absorb one of the 2 just to meet the minimum sort of class size standards.
Understood.
And that's assuming we have 5 sections of K, right? That's always the wild card.
Yeah.
If we end up with 4 sections of K, then those two teachers would still just be grant funded.
And our middle school projections. And there's the anticipation of being able to share staff within the middle school due to a decline in the enrollment for the upcoming 5th grade. We're proud to share that we have a lot of really terrific students attending career and tech programs at BOCES as they move up to the high school. I think during COVID might have seen a little bit of a drop off there, but now we're back and at the same level as or even higher than our pre-COVID numbers, which is really nice to see. And this is our high school projected enrollment at this time, and this does include the 6 current students we know of coming from Garrison. There's probably still some time to anticipate other students agreeing to come as well. So we will have a psychologist retiring this year, as well as a special education teacher. Currently, one of our CSEA members is a confirmed retired, but we do anticipate several retirements in that union. So those will be new hires for us. We'll have to replace each of those positions. And then the additional staffing potentials, some of the ones I've mentioned already, the library clerk, English as a new language, or ENL as we call it commonly, the librarian for the middle school, and 2 additional TAs for special education services we're providing. So moving on to our initiatives and all the things we aspire to do this year and into next year. So you've heard us speak earlier this year about our scholastic literacy implementation. We had an amazing group of teachers come in over the summer to do the launch workshop for that, which was a 3-day workshop in July, and hit the ground running when we started in September. We've had a lot of great success with it, and we love our consultant, Eleanor, who you see here working with our kindergarten students. We love having her come and visit and show us guided reading, writing, assessments, and work with teachers by their side, coach them, model for them. It's been a really, truly exciting initiative and something that we take a lot of pride in and how wonderfully it's gone so far. At the same time, to really bolster and support our literacy program and ensure we do not miss a step with the foundational science of reading practices in the early grades, we have tapped Foundations to provide a coach for us to develop an in-house Foundations facilitator, someone in our own faculty in the 1st grade, because that is a critical grade when it comes to Foundations. A lot of work needs to be laid, a lot of groundwork needs to be laid in the 1st grade for all of the content and work to be done in grade 2 for that to be successful. Routines and protocols and things need to be solid from grade 1 moving into grade 2. So that's why we chose to start with grade 1 as the Foundations facilitator piece. Our coach, David March, has already come once this year, and he went into classrooms and co-taught beside teachers and showed them how to be efficient in practices and the protocols and routines, where they could cut down on time on one aspect to get to a meatier, more content-heavy aspect of the program, and it's really been wonderful. And one of the reasons we're doing this, and this is so important to the work, is while Scholastic has its own phonics component, we can't miss a step with phonics. It's so critical at this age level. We all know this to be true. And we know Foundations works. We know it works for a majority of students when done with fidelity. So what we can't do is lose a step in our Scholastic implementation with the good Foundations work we've been doing so far. So this facilitator, this in-house facilitator, will be so critical in terms of supporting the program going forward, helping Scholastic and Foundations talk to each other in the classroom, seeing where there are natural places in the curriculum to insert the Foundations work, and then turnkeying with teachers, holding after-school sessions if they like to lead sessions for teachers, or coaching new teachers that come on board. There are always retirements, leave replacements for maternity leaves. There are always new people in the building that benefit from making sure they have solid reading instruction skills to help our students. So that Foundations piece was really critical when taking on a big ELA program like a Scholastic. We also are refining the RTI process in our elementary school, and that plays into a larger process we're going through right now of K-12 MTSS, spearheaded by Dr. Payne and Jen Pico and Jamie Zecca. Dr. Payne's been leading the work and keeping the group organized, and we have a wonderful group of teachers, colleagues, clinicians, and our APs, of course, leading the way, and Melissa Estrella also assists to bring in that Tier 3 expertise. So that RTI process is part of this bigger umbrella of MTSS that Dr. Payne talked about at the high school presentation a couple of months ago. And of course, we are moving forward with Mandarin. That will now move on to grade 4. We're currently in grade 3. That will move up to grade 4. Our middle school initiatives. Right now, we are fully focused on our middle years implementation. Our PD hours, our superintendent conference days, any opportunity we have, we're trying to bring as much learning into play and make sure they read the documents that are part of it before our very important launch workshop on March 10th. We're ready to submit our application. It's all completed. We're waiting on something from IB to submit, and I think we have that now so we can go forward. And we are talking to colleagues who are interested in that coordinator work, and we're very excited about the direction it's taking so far. So I know Mr. McCarty and I have some really great meetings along with Ms. Zecca about the middle year's work that we plan to do. We have a parent night coming up this winter. We're going to have, like I said, the launch workshop coming in, and we have a grade level working on designing the very first MYP unit for the building, and they're working on that after school at PD hour and on a different day so that they can really get all of the understanding and work into a beautiful unit that will be able to be shared with the faculty as a model as we go forward into the summer. We're also looking at designing an MYP Summer Institute at the end of the month of June. There's that week in between the school year ending and the summer beginning, and camps and all that taking off. So we want to really leverage that week to grab people before they run out on vacation and all that great stuff that's going to happen over summer, to give them a good jumping off point to really get started on units. We're hoping to partner with colleagues around the region who are also MYP schools and have been doing it for longer so that they can lead sessions for us and help guide us in the work. A lot of this work is done as a building, teachers doing the work. It's not a consultant driven, a scholastic, or you don't hire a consultant and have them do the work for you. You go to trainings or you sit with the materials that IB provides and you develop units. It's hard work. It's a lot of work. And so we're going to leverage the people we do have in the region that have been doing this longer than we have and see if we can bring them in for that MYM Institute and partner with them. And hopefully that'll give our teachers a jump start for their summer if they decide to take on curriculum writing and they know how to get started and where to go with it.
Jackie,
Yeah.
most of what I'm hearing, and I may have been not hearing correctly, a lot of the professional development, we're not pulling teachers out of classrooms. We're doing it after school or push in, have the consultant in the classroom.
Yes.
Is that in fact
It
what's
is.
happening?
One of the challenges we face, one of the reasons for doing that, in addition to just making sure our teachers and students are always together as much as possible, and our students don't miss a lot of time with their teachers. I know our teachers don't love to miss time with their students. There is a subs shortage, and it's very hard to pull teachers out of classrooms to do this kind of work when we have a hard enough time covering for all the illnesses and variety of issues that pop up on a regular basis. So it's easier for us to use the embedded PD hours that we have every month and superintendent conference days. And of course, curriculum writing is always an option for our teachers, but we try to do as much as we can to avoid pulling teachers out of the classroom with students.
Well, for whatever reason, I thank you for doing that.
And then, of course, we have been doing a lot of examination of our assessments and our data, and looking at how our data can help drive our instruction, utilizing and increasing our use of small groups in classes. We have our, for instance, grade 5 finally implemented DRA this year, and we had a lot of success with that so far, and we're having our teachers doing guided reading with students for the first time in 5th grade, which has been really beneficial and a great learning for them and for all of us. But it helps them to be connected to students in a small group, learning that child as a reader, getting to know their behaviors, helping them, supporting them, and increasing their ability to move on to the next level and continue growing. So that's been in addition to the grade 5 practices and curriculum in ELA, and we are looking at how we can utilize small group instruction, targeted instruction throughout all of the grade levels, and making sure everyone understands how to use platforms like iReady and what the data tells us and how they can best use that data to form small group lessons with students as they come into their classrooms. So we are continuing to do the great work of the diploma program at the high school. We do have the evaluation upcoming next year, so that's a big deal. Our teachers are going to have to be working on refining their units, getting ready for the evaluation to come through. There will be some training required in that. Some of our colleagues have already attended training in that, and it's definitely a process, but I think we're really confident about the work we've been doing. Our high school shines like no other in the region, and it's a testament to the hard work of our teachers and our leadership for making this come alive and really be a program we can be so proud of, that other schools are coming to our school to see what we're doing and to ask about our practices and to even join our students. So I think that's wonderful. We're looking at maximizing the time in community lunch to add workshops for specific skill sets for students, public speaking, presentations, writing for college admission essays, how we can use the community lunch time to maximize not only the wonderful expertise we have in our high school faculty for our students, but things that they don't necessarily do in their classrooms that are still skill sets they need. So how can we utilize community lunch for these workshops that could be optional for students, not required, but if a student really feels like they'd like to get more public speaking practice, or if they'd really like to get a jump start on college application writing, they'll be there for them. So we're really excited about that, and that's definitely the brainchild of Mr. Mello. So I've just been kind of talking it through with them. We've been, every so often he'll call me and say, well, what about this? I don't know, what about this? So we've been talking back and forth about it, and I'm looking forward to it coming to fruition, whatever the model ends up looking like. And we are also exploring the MYP for grades 9 through 10. Feasibility will begin this spring. We entered into feasibility, had a feasibility team last year at the middle school. That's really when a team comes together to examine the work required and to see whether or not it's a fit. I think we can all agree it's most likely a fit. It makes the most sense. It's aligned with what we're doing right now in 2 buildings. So I think that'll just be thinking about training for teachers and, again, more curriculum writing for teachers to get that off the ground. So you'll notice a thread I kind of pulled through each of our buildings, and that is the speaking, listening, writing, and reading. We know literacy and ELA and general skills transcend and go into, are part of all of the curriculum, are part of every content area. Students need to give beautiful presentations in TOK like we witnessed them last month. They need to write lengthy research in science research. They need a lot of skills that are tied directly to ELA. So this focus on literacy that is pulled through all of the initiatives we're doing right now in all of our buildings is it's intentional, because we know that so much of the literacy skills our students need K-12 have to be prioritized for them to be successful across the board, whether it's solving math problems that are lengthy word problems and identifying what the question's really asking of you. I was actually working with my students from my FSLA class tonight, and we were going over test prep for their SBL and SDL exams. That's the administrative leadership exam. And so much of the test is reading the question and identifying what it's asking you, and really breaking down each answer and response. These are skills that keep going through the years. You never don't need ELA skills. That's like a terrible way of saying ELA skills, but anyway. But I will say, it's important to us. And it speaks to the learner profile that's there intentionally as well. Because, again, communication is going to be a skill our students need no matter what. They need to be good communicators, especially in this day and age where social media runs the day, and they need to be able to articulate themselves both verbally and in text or type or whatever they do. They need to be knowledgeable as they engage in debate and conversations. They need to be open-minded to all the cultures and people they're engaging with and interacting with globally. And they need to be thoughtful and questioning. They can't take a piece of report or evidence or whatever it may be and say, well, this is fact. They have to ask questions. They have to wonder. They have to be curious. So we really want this for our students, and that's why this learner profile speaks to so much of what we're doing right now, and it's a natural fit for all of our district.
Jackie, before you begin the district initiatives, could you just explain the various abbreviations that are contained there? There are many unknowns, I'm sure, to the public that will be viewing this. And
this page right here?
Yeah, the district initiatives. You can see SOMOS. A lot of people are going to wonder what that is. DEI, RFP, IEP, if you could explain those as you go
Sure.
through.
I'm going to have Jeremy take the RFP one, but what I will say is MTSS is multi-tiered systems of support, and that is where we're looking at the student as academically, socially, behaviorally. It's the full picture of the whole child. That's MTSS. And the different tiers of support we provide depending on the child's needs. Are they a tier 1 need? Is it a tier 2 need, a tier 3 need, or beyond? The comprehensible classroom is an approach to teaching language, and that is something our 7 through 12 world language teachers have been doing together for this year. Started in the summer with some summer curriculum writing and coaching from Comprehensible Classroom. And the SOMOS piece is the specific Spanish curriculum that comes from Comprehensible Classroom that we are implementing. So those are those two things. Computer science standards, I think, when you hear CS for all, the state is now requiring standards for us. They have issued standards. This is the year of implementation. We have a dynamic tech department, educational tech department. They're a small but mighty team that have taken this on, are unpacking the standards, are learning, are offering training for them. Just the week before break was Computer Science Week, Coding Week, and those 3 teachers issued out a bunch of activities and ideas for other teachers in their classrooms to utilize to make sure coding became a priority for the week, but it should be a priority at all times. So we're learning about coding, and we're helping our innovation lab to really become a dynamic engineering and computer science place for our youngest students. And then, of course, we have Stephanie Tricala and Keith Fiore with design and MYP in the middle school, and then design technology will be IB. Design technology will be Keith's class next year. So this is really exciting stuff and important for our students as well, because the best positions, the best jobs in available right now do require engineering backgrounds. So we want to make sure a lot of our students are getting access and opportunity with computer science wherever they can. ENL is English as a New Language. So that is from students who are from South America, Ukraine, Asian countries, wherever they come from. They are, depending on certain parameters that we assess that we spoke about at the ENL coordinator presentation, they are classified or given access to an ENL program where they are supported. They have teachers supporting them with critical needs they have for both adapting to the culture, adapting to the language, and then actually doing their own work in their classes. And that could be physics, or it could be 4th grade, but wherever they are, they need help navigating the courses that they're in and the learning they're doing. So that's what ENL is. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was an initiative that the state brought forward a couple of years ago. We've had to design a policy, which we've done, and we had a second reading, I think, at the end of last year. And we have a committee that is focusing on communications, the power of words. How do we help people communicate better with each other and improve the communication among our faculty and staff? Pre-K, so we have our RFP ready to go.
I was going to put you on the spot and ask you to start guessing what it stood for.
No, that's
Request for proposal.
Thank you.
There you go,
Request
learn
for
something new.
proposal. I can remember so many acronyms, but there are just some I can't. But anyway, we have prepared our RFP to go out there for everybody that might be interested in partnering with us in a pre-K program, and we're very excited about the potential for that. But there are barriers that we've mentioned in the past, namely whether or not it'll be financially responsible for a pre-K program to partner with us for their own needs. And then parent learning opportunities. We've been doing a series of those. We're going to keep doing those over time, and we're definitely going to start this year with, we have a Scholastic Night prepared that Margaret is designing with some teachers. We have our MYP night we're designing. We're going to revisit social media and look at the cyberbullying aspect of that. And mental health. I know one of our faculty members has offered to offer a type of mental health workshop for parents. So we're really excited about the direction that will take.
This one's got even more, but most of them are repeats.
What?
This one has even more, but most of them are repeats.
Yes, we are repeating a lot of the different items like that. Thank you. No, not only drives me back and forth to my board meeting, but he gives me water. So yes, so we have curriculum writing that's going to need to take place for all of the things we just mentioned, whether it's computer science, middle years programs, SOMOS, MTSS. These are the things that we're going to have groups of teachers sit down and work on over the summer, after school, during PD hours, superintendent conference days. This is going to need to take place. Teachers and experts to present or coach, whether it be in scholastic, like we're continuing right now with Eleanor, perhaps we'll continue into next year, maybe at a fewer numbers of days with her, but we will continue. DEI, having an expert come in to talk about the power of words, whether it's with students or us or family, and of course for different parent workshop speakers and things of that nature. We'll need additional materials for ENL. If we do have a pre-K program, we'll need materials for that, although that will most likely be written into grants that we can access, whether it's the Title III grant or the pre-K grant, pre-K for all grant that we have. And SOMOS, of course, the world language work will have to continue and needs materials refreshed. And then training. We'll have to send teachers for training and for any new DP programs we take on. Or if the IB comes along and says, oh, we're changing this, we'll have to send a teacher out for training for that. So there will be training for folks. We still have to fill a few content area teachers in the middle years, the middle school, in order to get them trained for the middle years program. And we have a couple of new IB programs that we're talking about, like the design technology class. IB dance is being planned. So there are some trainings that teachers will need to go out for as well. With all this, we're still maintaining pace with the NYSED changes and all of the things that they ask us to do too. So computer-based testing phases. I'm meeting with every faculty, sorry, I should say elementary and middle because it primarily impacts them. Computer-based testing is being phased in starting in 2024 with grades 5 and 8. It's a requirement, it's no longer an option for us. What does that mean? That means the elementary school needs to add typing as part of their curriculum in order to make sure that our children are ready to take tests on the computer and feel really good about the answers they'll write and the way to navigate all of the different pieces, parts of the computer. So it'll be really important to start that work. The good news is we can insert this into our guided reading time. Students are already rotating in stations. They already have access to Literacy Pro, which is an online program, so they're using that already. There's a lot less work for the teacher to do than maybe in the past where they had to sit with rows of students on Typing Pal or Type to Learn or whatever. So, and we already have a typing program built into our Clever. So there's no cost there, but it does help us solve a problem that we are facing that is going to be phased in over time. Our computer science standards, like I said, this is an implementation year, so we're still doing the learning, we're still rolling out the standards, designing curriculum. Our 3 teachers are working together on that. They meet pretty regularly to see what's needed and how we can best make sure the faculty is aware of them and the likes of those. Our world language standards have been updated, so our administrators need to attend training to know what to look for and what those standards mean. That'll happen in May. Mental health mandates, Kurt Worrell and Danny Turner have been hard at work examining and crosswalking what we already do with the requirements that came down from the state. So that's been in play for the last couple of months. We have new assessments this year based on Next Gen ELA and Next Gen Math, and we had to do crosswalks of those to make sure everything that we have been preparing for is relevant and updated, so that was important. And we did have updates to the new art standards, and I've been sharing that with our arts colleagues as well. So how are we empowering everyone in Putnam Valley? Because this is a big part of our goals this year. We're empowering our students to lead. We ask our students to be on committees, to lead tours. They led tours of parents for, I think it was freshman back to school night, Matt, or one of the back to school nights early on. And then we also had them lead the tours for the Garrison parents that came through and the students that came. The Seal of Civic Readiness is something that's being extended to the middle school. The state opened it up to grades 6 through 12. So now our middle school librarian / capstone teacher can infuse that into capstone and make sure students, if they want to, can earn a point toward that before they get to the high school. And then Stage Crew, Gratitude Festival, Voices. There are so many clubs and opportunities where our students are put in the driver's seat, where they are leading, they are designing, they are managing, they're directing. It's really amazing to see. So we have a lot of wonderful opportunities for student empowerment and leadership.
Sorry, I just have one question about the seal of civic readiness. Just, could you clarify and like talk about that a little bit real quick?
Sure. So, the Seal of Civic Readiness is something that the state implemented, I want to say maybe 2 years ago now, and there were pilot schools, and Putnam Valley was a pilot school on this. So you may remember Dr. Seppi speaking about this a couple of, last year and the year before. So Putnam Valley agreed to pilot last year was the pilot. Essentially, the seal is designed to provide opportunities for students to develop a civic goal or a civic program or project that they research, they identify, they research, they try to solve, and they speak with constituents, they bring their proposals forward to the town or others, and it's designed to give them that seal on their diploma that says they are civically ready to engage. So that could be anything, and there are a lot of options. I don't have them ready here. But there are a lot of options for students to engage in order to get that seal of civic readiness.
So that is like being implemented and it's active in the high school right now?
Yes, it is through the participation in government class.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Go back to that. So we always want to try to empower our educators as best we can, and we do that through a variety of ways, whether it's coaching and providing training so that they feel ready to implement programs or to teach a new curriculum, the curriculum writing, and putting teachers in the driver's seat of developing their units, developing their programs is really essential. We're also making sure that we have different opportunities for teacher and instructional leadership. We have an E&L coordinator this year, which is new for us. And then, of course, we also have our principals and our assistant principals leading a lot of the work that's being done in the classrooms right now. They are elbows deep in the work when it comes to Scholastic, MYP, MTSS. They are right there beside the teachers, writing curriculum, learning with them, going to the meetings, going to the demo lessons. It's really beautiful to see because just having the experience of being to a lot of buildings as a consultant, you didn't always see the administration taking the time to be part of the work. They were usually doing what administrators still need to do, manage the building, manage discipline issues. You don't often see them in the room with the teachers doing the learning. But here in Putnam Valley, our leaders do that, and it's really nice to see. We had all colleagues join a new employee orientation this year. It's the same new teacher orientation that we design every year, where we make sure they make FaceTime with everyone that they should in the buildings as much as possible. They meet board members, they meet all of the administrators, they meet other colleagues, they meet the union. And what we did this year is we invited the monitors and aides and assistants and other new employees to this so that they got the tour of the district too, so that they were learning the tabletop scenarios. I had Margaret and Matt do tabletop scenarios with these colleagues. When this happens, you have a student in the bathroom and you know that they're vaping. What do? Like those kinds of tabletop scenarios, talking through them before they're in the moment doing and addressing the issues.
Was that Margaret's or Matt's tabletop?
It's actually mine. I was just kind of pulling them off of a scenario website, but they were good sports about it. I would just lob things at them and they'd be like, oh, okay,
I was
well,
just
let's
checking.
see. But yeah, it was a really nice opportunity for our teachers and other colleagues in our districts to hear from administrators what you should do when, before you're in the moment, before you're tackled with that type of scenario. So now they've talked it out, they've run through different ideas, and it was really a nice opportunity for everyone. And just in general, increasing our experiential learning through roundtables and scenarios and role-playing, even with our parents at our social media night. We had scenarios for them, and we asked them to talk about it with each other, and what would you do? What happens in your home? What are your rules about this when this happens? So I think that's a great way for people to get involved in learning in a different way, not just be talked at and presented to, but actually engage in the learning. And of course, as I was just mentioning, we are trying to empower our community members. We have advisory council and steering committees. We've got our PTA, PBEF, and our PTSA is starting up again. And we try to form partnerships with them. We advertise their information in the newsletters. We invite them to be part of parent evenings. And we get involved with our community stakeholders as much as we can. We're continuing to help our parents engage in learning opportunities, and we're increasing our communication through our newsletters, both in print and digital. And this year, I started a project for a CNI webpage, and I have two actually. I have a webpage for the public, that's curriculum and instruction, all about what we do and how we do it, and this is not ready to be published, so it's in draft form, but you'll see the types of information that you can glean from this, and what we do, and that'll be a video that I'm going to work on with wonderful Dan Mahoney soon. He doesn't know that yet, he does now. And then you can go to a building and you can learn about the different curriculum, and you can even be linked to the different curriculum that you could experience, both in the state standards and in the actual curriculums we're using, the materials we're using. So parents will have access to these kinds of things. And then on the faculty-facing side, which will go in our little PBCSD bookmarks eventually, we have been working really hard. I got it here. We've been working really hard on making sure the CNI newsletters that I started this year are front and center. So I'll just show you the most recent one that we put up. Oh, never mind, maybe not. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is something new I've started this year as well to help make sure our teachers know there are a lot of professional learning opportunities out there. Some our own teachers are teaching. I'll touch on that in a minute. But, you know, something like this, hey, do you want to get an extension on your special education certification for grades 7 and 8? You certainly can. This is where you can go for it. So I want to make sure they're kept up to date on that. I try to provide as many workshops and opportunities for them. I give them updates on NYSID assessments and information, and we even have an HR corner where we can remind them of things like, hey, don't forget to register with your CTLE, or hey, if you've moved or had a baby, you might need to update your health insurance, let us know. So these are really important tidbits of information for them, and occasionally we can throw in something special like the kindergarten guided reading lesson with Eleanor. I thought everybody should see that. That was a little holiday treat for everyone, because there's nothing like watching kindergartners read together, and one kindergartner even expressed at the very beginning of the lesson, I love meeting new teachers. Who doesn't want to hear that, right? So those are the types of things we can include in the curriculum and instruction newsletter, and also the website. It's the web page, I should call it. And then your timelines on standards on assessment, things they need to know about when the regents will be taking place and what to know about it. So trying to put things in one place for them, because there's no shortage of different places for them to have to go to find professional learning, good professional learning, to find the standards updates and the assessment updates, and to find great research articles. Sometimes I'll include research articles and podcasts in the newsletter so that they have access to everything in one place. Things that I've read through myself and I think, this is pretty interesting. I think our teachers will benefit from it, or I think they might like this, or hey, counselors might like to hear a podcast about paying for college. Maybe it'll help with their college evening. So hopefully this has been beneficial to our colleagues, and that's just what I've been working on in terms of the communication side. And then, of course, there is no shortage of regional, national, and international leadership here. We have a series of teachers who have gone forward and led wonderful teacher center workshops, some right here in this building, and they've been, didn't realize I wasn't getting picked up. And they have a great turnout, and we advertise for them too in our own curriculum and instruction newsletter whenever we come across them. Dr. Podesta is a leader of the P&W Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES Principal Forum. That actually is beyond the Putnam Northern Westchester region. It extends to about 50 districts, I think, or more. So Margaret is a leader in that. She's one of the 3 leaders. Mr. Mello this year presented at Saney's. That's him right there, getting ready for his tabletop. Dr. Payne is one of the leaders of the P&W AP network. Again, expands beyond our immediate P&W region to over 50 districts in the region. Ms. Pico served on a panel for our Bank Street's Future School Leaders class, speaking as a new AP and sharing her knowledge and her learning so far. And I am so, so proud to announce that Kat Schutz and Dan Mahoney have been accepted. Their proposal about Color Wars streaming has been accepted at ISTE conference this year in Philadelphia. That's the International Society for Technology and Education conference. It's a big deal. It is hard to get accepted, and they should be so proud of the Color Wars work they do and that our students do, that they have now gained this international recognition and will present internationally in Philadelphia at the end of this year. So
Outstanding.
kudos to you, Dan. And along the way, we are still increasing our E&L support because our population is increasing and becoming increasingly diversified. We have Ukrainian students, we have Chinese students, we have Ecuadorian students, Nicaraguan students. So we are increasing our professional learning for teachers and the E&L team. We have an E&L coordinator now to help kind of field all new students as they come in, help our teachers work together, keep them talking about practices and things that they're doing that they're finding helpful, making sure that we have translation services and materials available, and engaging our community with community outreach and opportunities to bring our families in so that they feel welcomed and they feel like they belong as part of our community. And of course, our partnerships with local organizations like Arburn really help us do this with very low cost, if any. And of course, innovation needs the right tools. So as we think about computer science standards and design technology and design in the MYP, what is that going to mean for our innovation in terms of ed tech? What does the innovation lab need? Would VR equipment be a possibility for our students in the innovation lab? That's where we're looking at our computer science standards to get a better sense of. Our tech team is putting in additional BenQ displays for both middle school and elementary school. We will have the IB dance program, so that will require an IB dance bar so that they can hold the bar and do their pliés and other wonderful dance stretches and moves. We are continuing to support our performance arts with tools and materials and the instruments they need. Our E&L and special education consistently need professional learning to stay ahead of the latest research and the types of equipment that they need as well. So whether it's the touch chat devices or devices for translation, we're looking at all possibilities to make that program even more robust, both programs more robust. And then of course, innovative classroom furniture and shifting from old style desks and equipment we might have in our classrooms to more innovative classroom furniture that will benefit our students and be the types of furniture they're going to see in college and the workplace. Are there any questions?
Jackie, I have a question.
Yes.
With the next generation standardized tests being taken on computers, how exactly is that going to work across the state?
Well, we hope well.
My answer was not well, actually. But.
Kirby's more
reason I'm
pessimistic than I
asking is
am,
because-
but yeah, they're going to have to work on their bandwidth. They did put in their legislative budget increased funding to, I guess, increase their own servers and capacity. But if the state has showed us anything over the last several years, they're not always in the best place for some of the initiatives that are rolled out. Sometimes they're a little bit behind. But I am hopeful that this one will be prepared for, because they are announcing it now, so they have some time. So.
Wasn't that what the Smart Bonds Fund was for?
Yeah, and I'm much less concerned about the infrastructure side of it than I am the learning side of it, right? Our students don't sit in front of a computer all day long, especially solving math problems. Not to say that we never use computers to solve math problems, but to be able to take all the work that they're used to being able to do physically with pen and paper and other manipulatives, and then be forced to then demonstrate that same type of learning on a computer is my fear. And obviously students get more skilled at it as they get older, but to have a third grader sit at a computer and ask them to type an answer or to solve a math problem that's only viewable on a screen is something that we certainly have to work to prepare our students for, because it's very different than what happens if you observe a math lesson in a third grade classroom. That's more so my fear than the technology infrastructure side, which I think has broken enough times where they've fixed it by now.
This is more so a more like kind of or a specific like comment that I have. I know you discussed like the addition of more like BenQ displays in the middle school and the elementary school, and in the high school I think they work really well. They're very like efficient. It's definitely a level up from our smart boards. But I think it would be really important to make sure we have like good training for the teachers that are getting those new boards, just because I know they can be a little bit confusing sometimes even as a student. And so I just think it's good to prioritize like training and understanding of those boards, because like how we prioritize the training of when we have new systems coming in from like the state or just new standards, and we train teachers for those, I think it's good to implement like the training for technology for teachers as well.
Thank you, and that actually allows me to share a little bit about the June smorgasbord that I didn't go too far into. We are planning a technology boot camp day on the Wednesday of that week. We have our MYP Institute, we have 2 TCIS sessions, and whatever else comes our way that people are willing to lead and do, we will have, but BenQ will be a huge part of that technology boot camp day. So thank you.
Jack, you talked about the, again, doing the anticipated share staff. Can you talk more about that? Like what staff would be shared between the middle and the high school?
Sure. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So, I mean, obviously, we have vacancies that emerge throughout the year, and with declining enrollment, it obviously requires us to look more closely at the possibility of shared staff. So I think whenever possible, that's always the first place that we look, and I know that our middle school and high school administrations work very closely together to identify opportunities to share staff between the buildings. Although we've seen a leveling out, and as we pointed out before, starting to emerge as an increase in enrollment in the elementary school, the other 2 buildings are still seeing decreases in enrollment, although maybe less significant now that some garrison students will be coming to the high school as well. But that's always the first place we look, is for opportunities to share staff between the buildings before going out and hiring new teachers that may in turn end up getting accessed a few years later when those smaller classes come up. So obviously we're a ways from having final schedules and being able to identify individuals or even departments. But it's always something that we're keeping an eye towards looking forward, and it's something that I think everyone realizes is going to happen increasingly more often as smaller and smaller classes continue to come up, right? We're, in the last couple of years, we graduated a class of 156 and then 140 something and then 130 something, but we're bringing in classes of 100, 109, 115. So there's definitely going to be a continual decrease in enrollment as those smaller grades work their way through the grade levels. One of the things that we've done is to align the schedules at least in a morning-afternoon session. So that gives us the ability to split teachers in half-day components. So you need to be in the high school in the morning before the community lunch, and then in the middle school in the afternoon, or vice versa. And it's something that I think we'll continue to explore ways to further align the schedules to make it more easily, or teachers more available to switch or jump between the buildings.
Thank you.
It does look like there's kind of a mini bump every 3 to 4 years. So like each school is having at least one bump in a larger class and a very low bump, so that it's following its way all the way through. I'm looking at, last year's graduating class of 157, which we don't have a number even close to that in the upcoming years at this point. It just, because we will see that class of 81 from the 4th grade, work its way all the way through. It's going to be a challenge to kind of balance ebbs and flows of those.
Right, and I think we spoke a little bit to that on the middle school slide. So we know that 5th grade is inheriting 81 students, and those same 81 students have been split into 4 sections since they were in kindergarten. So the immediate reaction may be, well, we could reduce the teaching position in 5th grade. But the reality is when you look forward, well, right after that is a class of 127, and right after that is a class of 126. So long-term vision is let's find ways to better utilize those staff members for those 2 years in 5th grade with 81 students and 6th grade with 81 students without having to excess anyone, because we know 2 years later we're going to need those positions filled for the next 5 years coming forward. So I think there's certainly, we have to look long-term as that one sort of anomaly comes through, as opposed to making immediate changes each year that grade of 81 comes through, because we know behind them is a much larger class.
I'll go again. And this is for Matt. The Seal of Civic Readiness, I know last year it was limited, the students that could attend that. Has that been expanded? Because I know last year students stated they wanted more students to participate. Is that possible this year?
Yeah, so there's more opportunities in a couple different participation in government classes this year than there were last year. So yes, and the humanities class, Mr. Lathrop was, but I think the humanities class is the opportunity for that seal of civic readiness as well.
Okay, thank you. Performance arts, I speak about that. I see you have it listed as innovation tools. Is that also for the middle school and elementary school, or is it just for performance art?
Wherever the needs are, we do have a couple of needs specific to the high school, but I want to make sure that our teachers in all of those areas have what they need, the equipment they need, especially when we think about innovation, how quickly technology is changing. There's always something on the horizon that we should be ahead of if we want to stay the competitive and innovative schools that we are.
Thank you. And what else did I have? I may have missed if you stated this. When will the curriculum be up on the website?
I really want to be able to put the IB Middle Years logo on there, and we have some rules around that. So I'm hoping that once we get our candidacy in place, they will permit us to use their logo on the site. So that's what, I don't want to not put it on when it's such a big part of what we're doing this year.
At the same time, I think it's important to add the curriculum as soon as possible for parents.
Sure.
And not hold it up just because of that.
Sure.
As well.
We could do that.
And speaking of MYP, what percentage of the federal stimulus funds are paying for the MYP this year? And what do you think next year?
So I think maybe I can answer the question the other way. So all of the MYP expenses are being billed to the federal stimulus funds. I couldn't give you a percentage of the overall federal stimulus funds that are being used to support the middle years program, although I could say it's percentage-wise minuscule. In terms of, the millions of dollars that are being spent, the expenses to support the middle years programs is more of tens of thousands of dollars out of that money.
And the plan is, when Jackie spoke regarding next year's plans, that also to be covered by the funds?
Correct.
Okay.
So those funds run through next school year. They expire September of '24.
Yes.
So we actually have a full year and a summer left of those funds before they expire.
Thank you. And I forgot to say thank you, Jackie. Well
Oh.
done.
My pleasure.
It's a nice overall framework for the entire district. I appreciate that. Obviously, when we see dollar signs later, it's a different story, but right now, it's a good start.
So you hold those off for later.
I did have like two questions that are related to what was presented, but not budget-oriented, but this is not really budget-oriented in the critical sense either. NTSS, are we still
FTSS?
whatever it is.
I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yes. Are
Which
we still
is?
using, as a district,
Multi-tiered systems.
Yale Ruler as part of that piece?
I think it exists in pockets. I don't want to say definitively no, but not as a district. We have the second step program that is being used in the younger grades. I think at the high school, while Ruler may be a part of what some folks do, I don't think that it's like an adopted methodology everyone's using. What I will say is, and we should all think about it this way, our learner attributes, our IB learner attributes are the lens through which we should look through all things. SEL, DEI, they're in there. What we want for our students, what we want them to know and be able to do as humans, as people, is in those attributes. So regardless of the program, that is how we are addressing SEL as a district.
Right. I think of Yale Ruler as a tool and not an instructional program. Right. So it's a tool that's still utilized in many classrooms, especially the elementary school level. Although I was in a middle school classroom today, and the teacher started off with a Yale Ruler mood meter slide to have the students sort of just center where they were. So it's certainly a tool that's used in many of our classrooms, but it's not a curriculum that's being taught or a program that's being implemented district-wide. Second step is much more so of that program.
And then we're going to have to face this challenge probably sooner rather than later, particularly in the middle school and high school with ChatGPT and the AI writing programs that are out there. Already stories out there of school districts not allowing students to do essays at home.
Oh, because of bots?
Because of the AI creating essays, and stories of regular D and C students all of a sudden getting A's on the paper, and technically, is it cheating or not? That big challenge, and where we go, how we defend against that type of stuff, because students are crafty. I'm not saying it in a negative way, but they're going to try and do what they can do to get ahead, as we all try and, in the business world, it's being used already, and because there's no penalty for it because it's not stealing in many
Some people
ways.
are very successful having bots write entire videos for them.
And AI art, is an amazing thing. And, my daughter's an art major, and it's a big controversy of, like, artists are getting, they do all this training to become artists, and then you put in two words in an app and you get this amazing art that comes out of it. So, I mean, long-winded way to saying we need to be ready to address kind of that AI issue, and especially when it comes to papers and making sure that, like, with the integrity of IB on the line, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I think Mr. Mello might be the first to say this, but through courses like design technology and through our ed tech department that we are developing, staying ahead of those computer science standards, being aware of things like that, and then how to navigate that through our IB work, specifically that design technology course and other courses like it. That's, I think, where we can start addressing it. But you're right, it's going to be a much bigger problem overall.
It already is at the university level for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your answer was much more articulate than mine. I was just going to say the whole thought gives me a headache. To even think about dealing with that is mind-boggling.
I'm sorry, I have to ask, can you tell us more about IB Dance?
Can I? Sounds like a question for Mr. Mello.
Sure, I'd love to. So I think it's a great opportunity to offer an IB program to students that might not necessarily be involved in the whole IB program, right? So, like, we always talk about the diploma candidates and this high-level program for diploma candidates and all these things that they have to do, all these requirements. IB Dance opens up this opportunity to have a course where they study dance, they practice dance, they create choreography for that dance, and they're being assessed and all that. So it kind of falls into what they call Group 6, the arts, where music, IB music, the students have to create pieces of work, in order to be able to present. So some of those same things fall in line with IB Dance. They have to be able to create, and they have to be able to perform, and they have to be able to perform solely or as a solo artist, and they have to be able to perform in an ensemble as well. So a great opportunity. We have a lot of students here in Putnam Valley that are involved in dance groups throughout the area, and it really, it gives them an opportunity to excel in an area that is in their wheelhouse. So I'm really excited about that.
I think it speaks to the notion that IB is not a one-size-fits-all program, and we're looking to extend those opportunities for that level and depth of learning to as many different groups of students. And this is certainly looking to maybe entice a group that may not otherwise be currently enticed by some of the other offerings.
Thank you.
My ancillary additional question, which I'm imagining Jeanette's leading question, is how do we staff for that position to teach that class?
Matt's going to do it.
So, I don't think anybody would want that. So we actually have Nicole Diodana, who has been involved in dance. She actually runs a dance company with her sister, her brother. So she is highly qualified. They go around, like her dance company, they're at competitions all over the place, And so she's got a lot of experience as far as dance choreography, everything that goes along with it. So she is going in January for IB dance training. So she's going to get the whole idea, understanding of, IB, the IB dance curriculum, IB assessments, all of that. So she has the dance background, and now we can use that expertise and bring it into a course. It seems to be a great marriage right there. And I really do. I'm really excited about. I think there's several of us that are really excited about that opportunity that we're opening up to students. And it's like not just the standard level, we can offer the higher level as well. So these students are getting like this really, really in-depth look, view, exposure to what dance is all about, especially every year we have some of them that are looking to go on to college and do something in that field. So
And it
it's
would be
great.
beyond just kind of dancing, it would be the comprehensive look at dance.
Exactly, right, yep, it's not trying to teach Mr. Mello how to tap dance.
Right.
Yeah, it is, which would be, you probably deserve a lot of money to do that too, but, yeah.
We'll make that one of the community lunch workshops. Can you talk a little bit about, I know we've spoken about sort of the rotation of some of these IB courses, right? It's not necessarily IB dance is going to be added on top of everything else, that some of these courses may rotate, they'll run one year and not the next.
Yeah, and it all depends on the student interest each year, right? So if the student interest is there, then we'll be able to run that class. I think the one thing that's great about IB is IB dance is going to appeal to a different cohort than IB chemistry is going to appeal to, right? Even IB music, IB dance, it could be two separate, groups of people. So it's going to give students an opportunity to excel in what I said, Group 6, the arts in IB, in another way. So performance arts appeals to a different group. I don't think it's really going to be pulling from something else, not really competing with something else. It's actually giving an opportunity for other students who didn't have a pathway in an IB course. So.
I think I'd just also like to add, thinking about their future prospects, how hard it is to get into a dance company, how hard it is to get into a BFA program. I was a theater arts student, I was a BA. I wasn't talented enough to be a BFA. I know that surprises everyone. My singing voice is terrible, but these are people that they have these gifts, these talents, and what gives them that edge to get them into that program, that high Tisch School of the Arts, when we think of things like that, right? What's going to give them that edge? And something like IB dance on your resume, when that's your strength, and that's something that you can do, that you feel confident in, and then you can pursue and have deeper learning, research, and presentation skills, all the same things that come along with an IB course. But it's targeted to an area of strength for you that you want to cultivate and maybe be a dancer one day. And then you can apply to colleges with that on your resume.
I mean,
It's very
again,
impressive.
going beyond the idea of, because everybody who goes to higher education for dance obviously has done dance competitions, has won awards, has done the touring stuff, but very few are going to have that additional study, which I think is a nice addition for a different cohort of students.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Okay, new business. We have only one.
Oof. Hope it's not long for me to read, okay.
No, it's not too long.
It's the longest one ever.
Can I ask one more question before the administrators leave, before this? Athletics, and I know it's probably more for the high school, but probably for, I guess, Dave's not here either. In light of the situation that happened on Monday Night Football this week that everybody was very much concerned about, and there was a similar incident that happened, I think, this football season in Ulster County, where a student collapsed and they were not lucky as apparently this Buffalo Bills gentleman is. That I know that we've got a physical trainer,
Athletic trainer.
on our grounds when we have those types of football games, but it's not just football. Some stories have been lacrosse balls hitting students in the chest. How do we? And there's no insurance because assurance, I should say, because they're freak accidents that can happen at any time. How do we make sure that we're best equipped to deal with those types of situations?
Sure. So our athletic trainer, Megan, who happens to be absolutely phenomenal. I've witnessed her deal with compound fractures, stabilizing necks for braces. She is truly a professional at her craft. She's at every home game, or at least on site for every home game. So whether it's lacrosse or field hockey or soccer or basketball, she's here, right? She has her whole med kit. She's got a defibrillator. She's got everything that anyone could possibly need on site. Football has the additional step of having an EMT or paramedic or someone there as well. But I believe they're the only sport that require that in addition. But we always on site have someone, at least on this campus, right? There's always some exceptions. Modified baseball happens at the town park. You can't be in two places at once. But we do have all of those tools. The AEDs are available. I believe the coaches carry them for when we're on off sites like that. There's one stationed on the concession stand outside. There's one outside the gym. There's one in the nurse's office. I know many of the administrators and teachers in the district have been trained on using them. So it's something that I think we're really been proactive in ensuring that we have the appropriate equipment and ensuring that we have people properly trained to utilize them. Go ahead, Matt.
I'll just add that at our last superintendent's conference day, teaching assistants asked if they could have some training in this, and so Megan Smith-Usen was providing training in CPR, first aid, and we have another superintendent's conference day, and that's also going to be incorporated into that day as well. So it's not just like administrators kind of looking at this, the staff kind of bringing it up to us and saying, hey, it would be great to get some training in these areas, and I think that's incredibly beneficial for everybody, like you see. It is tragic, right? When something like that happens, and the more people that have some sort of level of understanding and knowledge, it's just beneficial for everybody in those situations.
So scary.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Resolving recommendation of superintendent of schools to appoint Amber Keeler to probationary appointment of school monitor effective January 9th, 2023, with a probationary period of 52 weeks, January 8th, 2024, at the elementary school in step 1 of the CSEA schedule.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. I'd like to open it up now for public comment on any topic. Is there anybody? No? Okay. Upcoming
Jeff.
meeting topics.
So our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January 19th. The presentations for that evening are budget presentations will continue with athletics and technology. We also have Sheriff McConville will be joining us to talk about some new software that'll 3D map the schools that he wanted to provide a demonstration for to the school districts. Following that, we have a meeting in February 9th. That'll be our budget presentations for facilities, operations, and special education. And then the next meeting is on March 2nd, which will be our first full budget presentation.
Okay, is there anything else that anybody wants to see?
Yeah,
Wait, I mean on the agenda.
oh, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, then I'd like to open it up for board member comments or discussion on any topics.
Yeah. I had brought this up at the last meeting, and I'd like to continue the discussion. We have received
Sam, just be fair,
numerous...
can you talk into the mic so that everyone can hear you?
We have received numerous emails and contacts from parents in our district asking us to take a stand regarding the state's possibility of passing a requirement for all students to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Like those individuals that have contacted us, my own personal view is that this is not a health issue, it is a parental rights issue. And the parents should be the arbiter of their child's health. And I believe that emphatically. And Sachem Central School District wrote up a very simple and concise letter to the state stating why the Sachem District, which is a fairly large one, would like the state not to put forward this COVID-19 mandate. I do have a copy of that letter. I'd like to hand it to the board members and the superintendent. Joe, if you can pass these down, please. Thank you. It's short and sweet, and what it discusses is that it's a divisive issue. we don't need divisiveness, with our district or within the state. They have never mandated a flu vaccine, which kills more people yearly than COVID has ever done, and that's empirically proven. Yet, there is talk of doing the COVID-19. I don't think it has much traction in Albany. I don't. I really think that cooler heads will prevail and say this is not going to happen. But speaking to our assembly person and our state senator, both of them, Rolson and Slater, they had said any type of support from the school district certainly helps our position on not having the state mandate this COVID-19. So I would ask the board to consider writing a letter very similar to the Satcham Central School District letter to the state of New York expressing our concerns. That is my point of view. I certainly don't want to speak for the board, and that's why I brought this for discussion. The state certainly is considering their resolutions as at the present time. They'll end their session in a couple of months, so it's important that if we are going to do this, we do this rather quickly if we can.
Can I just
put it out there for discussion?
I know this is for board discussion. I just wanted to emphasize one of the things that you had pointed out, that it's my understanding, I did a little research on the bills, that both of these bills have been stalled in committee since their introduction.
That is correct.
In the fall of '21. So I know there's a lot of fear and a lot of concern out there, but the reality is that each of these bills has not moved one iota in the last year plus in terms of even getting out of committee and going before any bodies for a vote. So I, like you, agree. I think there's almost zero chance that either will move forward to a vote, but I did want to just provide the fact that these are not new and they're not something that's quickly moving, that they're both old bills and both bills that have been stalled in committee since their introduction last fall. Thank you.
Well, I realize that we got 9 or 10 emails asking us to do this, but I have probably talked to that many parents not receiving an email, just talking to people who would not support. I think it's hard. This letter starts, we write on behalf of the Central School District. Well, for me to write a letter on behalf of Putnam Valley, when I have 10 people tell me one thing, but I have another 10 or 12 tell me something else, I think it's a very difficult thing to write on behalf of the entire Putnam Valley School. Whether I believe it or not, I would encourage every person who believes this or thinks this way to write. I think individual letters that are not carbon copies of one another can be powerful. But I have a real concern about writing for the district when I don't have evidence that the majority of the district feels that way.
The tenet on all of this is not a condemnation of the COVID-19 vaccine. No parent has said that. Myself, I just got my booster, number 4, in October, and I'm facing my 5th one in April. I believe in it. I think if I were a parent, a child, I don't have any kids myself, but I would certainly have them vaccinated. But that's a parental choice. And that's the key to the issue, I feel, more than anything else. I understand what you're saying, Barbara. There are parents who would like to see it mandated, I'm sure. It depends on your own perspective and your own feeling of comfort. As a school board member, we did have this request. I think it's a rational request, and that's why I've asked the board to consider writing this letter, and it depends on the board. I'm one of 5, you know.
I just have to say, I really feel that this is a moot point, because if the Board of Ed and the Board of Health decide that this is going to happen, it's going to happen, no matter how much of a writing letter campaign is out there. And every one of us in this room couldn't get into a school building unless we had proof of vaccinations. I myself have worked with children that came from third world countries many years ago in New York City, and they slipped through the cracks. It is not a good thing not to have your child vaccinated. That's my personal feeling. But I do agree with Barbara that if a letter is written, it needs to take care of everybody's opinion, not just a vocal group of folks, because we really don't know everybody's opinion in Putnam Valley, except for a few, letters that we got saying, please write a letter.
And along with that, I have stated publicly, I'm against the school mandating it. It needs to be between a parent and a pediatrician or a family doctor. It's not the school conversation. But I do think that, and I think that's my point, is it's not up to the schools. It's up to the parent. And we can't take that out of the parent's hand. And I just don't, I agree with all of what you're saying. I just wonder how we can word a document to state it's not in our hands.
Well, the most stunning paragraph in this is, in addition, we believe that the implementation of a COVID-19 vaccine mandate at this time would cause an unnecessary divide and disruption in our community. And that's powerful. And I believe that if the state did that, mandated the COVID-19, there would be a great deal of divisiveness and disruption, and individuals who would refuse to have their child vaccinated for whatever reason. Again, I support the vaccination, but the overriding concern is parental rights, and there's got to be a line in the sand where the parents have the full right to decide what their child's health requirements should be. We have mandated shots for smallpox, measles, mumps, things like that. Well, some of those are terminal. I mean, you get smallpox, your chance of survival is very, very slim. COVID is a flu variant. That's what it is. And they have never, in the history of, as far as I know, public education, mandated a flu vaccine. You can recommend it, I understand that. But to mandate it, I think that goes a little too far, and that's all I'm saying. I understand your point. You've all made excellent points, and I'll go with the majority will, but I appreciate that the board has given me the opportunity, for this topic to be brought up. It's important that the discussion, when we have so many parents who have pointed this in our direction, to listen and to talk about it. Again, I would like to see the letter done. I don't know if I have that support.
Well, I have an issue with the letter, mostly because there are 9 to 12 other vaccines that the state mandates and that students have to come to school.
Right.
One of them being chickenpox, which back in the day you had chickenpox parties, right? So all the kids in the neighborhood would get chickenpox at the same time, and now we're all getting the shingles shot, right? Because that we had chickenpox. Now by the implementation of a chickenpox vaccine, shingles no longer be an issue for those when they're over 50 years old. Right. So I mean, I totally don't believe that bill is moving anywhere. Plus, it's the COVID vaccine for under age 12 is still only emergency use only. It's not even an officially approved vaccination. So I can't imagine in a million years that would be something that would be put forward. But I'm thinking more along the lines of there are already a set number of vaccines that are required by the state for students to go to school. Flu is not one of them. I think the idea of making it a mandatory situation when it was introduced was still back in panic days, right? I mean, and I think we've gone beyond that. I mean, we don't even, now masks are recommended as opposed to mandated. I think that's the path that unless something changes significantly with the nature of the virus, we're going to be living with this like we live with the flu. It will do more damage than the flu, because we've had average annual death rate for flu is around 45,000 Americans, and we've had over 2 years over 1 million people. Obviously, not children. That number is much smaller. So I'm not saying that it's not a parental right, but at the same time, there's the balance between public health and, again, the odds that comes down from the state, I think is minimal. Also, if we are a school district that comes out against the mandate, and then the mandate comes, we've set up kind of an even more possible divisiveness where, the community then says, well, you said you were against it, and now you're going to enforce it. And the answer is going to be, yeah, just like we had to enforce every other thing the state tells us we can enforce.
And that is the troublesome part of all of this, that if the state does mandate it, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because I could tell you, I would be upset with that decision from the state on a personal level. I mean, you make a good point, Joe. Again, though, I understand the concern of the parents.
I totally understand that.
And the overreach sometimes of the state just makes me crazy.
But as part of a percentage piece too, there are 700 districts in the state. There's 5 that wrote this letter.
Oh, no, it's a dozen now.
Okay.
There are a dozen now. Yeah.
So, but the idea of, it's not even, it's a small minority.
It'd be pretty cool if we were one of the districts to do it, especially in our consortium, if we were the first. I mean, we've been innovative in so many different ways. This would certainly gain the attention of a lot of people, I can tell you that. But, I put it out there. We do have time. They're not going to take any action on this. As, Dr. Luff said, it's not even out of committee. So think about it.
And, for sure.
Yeah, think about it. We have another meeting coming up, so.
We spent almost a year discussing whether we were going to write a letter.
About mask mandates.
About masks?
Yeah.
And basically, we came to the decision that we are not public health officials.
Right.
We will follow the mandates of the public, the people who are the doctors, who are the scientists. That's not us. And I strongly believe in our citizen rights. But I also know that sometimes I can't drive as fast as I think I can drive safely on Oscowan Lake Road.
I know what you mean.
I can't.
Yeah.
Because somebody who's a traffic study person has decided that 30 is the fastest you should be going on that road. Well, I just don't agree. Well, there's a price to be paid for. In other words, we live in a society where people make rules, hopefully for the best. Do they make mistakes? Yes. I personally feel that this kind of letter is divisive because it's setting up a situation where you're saying, I know what you're going to do, and I want you to stop it before you do it, and you don't know that. Like, I don't know. I just have some real concerns about writing a letter. I personally could write a letter to the state stating what I believe, but I do not believe I could write a letter or sign a letter stating what the district's position.
I mean, it could be very different, and I know they've got their names on the letterhead here.
Yeah.
But if there were any letter done, I would hope that we would agree that we'd have to have all of us sign that letter with our names on the letter if we were going to do that letter, and I'm
I
not willing
I would
to-
agree with that, yeah.
But, so at this point, I'm not willing to put my name on it.
I'm not willing to put my name on this letter, even with my, just some of the wording here.
Well, no,
But,
this
yeah.
is just an example of
Right, right.
what I
And
thought
that's what-
summarized the whole situation.
Right.
And I still believe the state needs to hear sometimes from their districts.
I think
Look, they devastated our education system with the COVID nonsense. They devastated us by forcing the schools to close. Thank God Putnam Valley was smart enough, and Jeremy, a lot of this falls to you, to keep that elementary school open, so and even half-day programs running, so that our kids did not fall as far behind as most of the districts in this state. And some of them are 2 years behind academically because the state panicked and passed these ridiculous COVID-19 rules. And they were wrong to do it. It wasn't the children that were being infected. It was people my age, the seniors. And I call it conspiracy or what, but I believe that it's our age bracket that was targeted by whoever made this thing in a lab somewhere. So the state is not always right. That's what I'm saying. And if I can't believe that they would pass this. I've been reassured by both our assembly person and our senator that they would not support it.
Right.
So knock wood, it won't happen. But it still would be nice to see our district.
Yeah. And I agree, there's power in letters, and there's power in individual letters, not form letters. So that's what I invite the community to do. If you personally have an objection, speak out, write the letter. I'm glad that people feel like you reach out to us. I'm glad that occurred, but we really need to reach out to the state, because that's their target right now.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But anyway, I presented it. You have a little guide here. Just think about it. It doesn't look like it's going to go far, but
It's worth
who knows?
watching.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Like you said, Barbara, we'll keep our eye on it. I hope. Thank you.
Yep. Any other discussions?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Barbara.
I did ask Matt tonight. I was glad, Sam, that you asked him about the time, because I also saw it on the calendar and there was no time. I asked him if he could, and there's a whole bunch of stuff happening at the high school in the next month.
Right.
Honor societies, all kinds of stuff. So I said, that we want to know about it and we want to be included and invited. So he said, well, what protocol do you want to use? I'm like, I don't know, let's talk about it. But
The times are important.
Huh? But I said, I can't always find things on your thing. It helps to get an invitation. Even just like to the elementary sing-along, just the Google invitation made it quick and easy for me to say I'm going or not going.
Yeah, it was
or
nice.
whatever.
It was nice to get that from Margaret. Yeah.
So anyway, he said, we'll work on it. So we're going to work on it. As part of our communication, Jackie's done it.
She's not there.
Oh, darn. Improve our communication. I'll have
It's an
to
empty
tell
seat.
her. I'll tell her. I'm sorry, what else?
Oh, no, just along with that, I was out of town at the last meeting, but I know some of us had the opportunity to sit in on Dr. Macera's TOK class, and it was amazing. So I want to thank him for giving us an opportunity and able to do that. It was,
Yep,
I
we
highly
were
encourage
invited
it.
to that. We received an
Right,
invitation to
and
that.
I know that
yeah.
it's an extra step for whoever's in charge of the honor society or the class or whatever, but it's real easy with our, busy lives to overlook something or forget something, and it's nice because we really want to know what our students are doing and actually see them in action. I mean, it's not that we don't want to see the administrators and the teachers, but we really want to see the kids.
Yep,
So,
I agree.
That being said, as an ancillary, in the BOCES slide was the young lady who did the graphic design who was at
Yes.
2 meetings ago. And we were looking to get a portfolio. I didn't see a portfolio
I
come around.
got one.
on the web, oh, I didn't.
I
I
didn't get
didn't.
one either. Barbara.
Yeah, I didn't.
I thought I did.
Someone slap her hand.
Okay, I'll go back and look.
Because we were talking about putting it on the website also.
Right.
if she wanted it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
need
yeah,
some permission.
yeah,
for-
obviously.
Right.
An example, let me put it that way.
Okay, anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.